Hello. You know, anybody that knows me knows that I like to exercise. That I have for a while now been on like a fitness journey, I guess, to just sort of change my overall health. And I've had varying degrees of success throughout that time. But one of the things I learned was that you can't outwork a bad diet. That's just like a trainer saying that you're seeing thrown around a lot that just basically says that no matter how much work you're doing, say in the gym, or running, or whatever it may be, if you're putting, junk food or bad foods into your body, it's going to, make your goals that much more impossible. It's just kind of the way of saying that real work, real changing effort is done in the kitchen and not the gym. I think in life we could have a similar saying about wanting to achieve things, and I'm gonna use that same sort of framework and just say maybe, we can't outwork a bad tongue. The idea that no matter how much work we put in, or no matter how much dreaming we do, visualization we do, if we're speaking the opposite direction of where we want to go, we're not gonna get there. And let's go to the word and I'll explain why I feel that that is a true principle of life. I'm in the book of James, the 3rd chapter. I'm going to read the 3rd and 4th verses, and I'm in the English Standard Version. Excuse me. If we put bits into the mouths of horses so that they obey us, we guide their whole bodies as well. And then the 4th verse. Look at ships. Though they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are guided by a very small rudder wherever the will of the pilot directs. So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts great things. So let's think about that first part, right? Look at horses. Horses are one of those animals that they are incapable of looking in one direction and walking in another. It's impossible for them to do that because the way their bodies are set up, they don't have an independent neck and body sort of situation. Same way we do. I mean, you've seen it several times where those funny internet videos of somebody looking in one direction and then they walk right into a door, right? So we know we can do that. We can look at a direction and go another way. Horses can't. So wherever they turn their head, if they're running, they're forced to run. That's why that little bit, about 6 inches in length, that goes into a horse's mouth, that's connected to straps and a bridle and a headpiece that goes over a horse's head. It's actually that little bit, that little 6 inches of rubber or plastic or polyurethane, depending on what you have. It used to be thick leather that they would put in a horse's mouth. And when a rider's riding a horse, if he pulls back on his right arm and keeps his left arm where it is, the horse head turns to the right, horse runs to the right. Same thing with the left. If they pull back on both, the horse's head does this and it can't run anymore. It stops. Right? So it was the idea that that little bit directs the horse. That no matter where the horse is running, or even where the horse wants to run, you turn its head, it's going in that direction. So the idea is the tongue is the same way. That it's impossible for us, just like that horse, to go in a different direction than where our speech, where our words, where our affirmations, how we talk about our life is going to take us. You could be putting in all the work you want to in school, on the job. You could be saving your money. But if all you ever speak of is, it ain't one thing, it's another. It's always something coming up. My life is this. God doesn't do that for me. Where do you think? Just like that bit, your life is going to turn away from your desired course and it's going to go where you speak it. So it's the idea of speaking where you want to go, using that bit, using that small member of the tongue to speak into existence. I've got a really cool pastor, Pastor Jay Moss, and he always talks about, and this is one of the things that made me really like coming to Abundant, because I've always felt the same way, is he always talks about, how did God create the universe? He spoke it. You go back to Genesis, it says, and God said, let there be light. And God said, let the firmament be separated. And God said, let us make man in our own image and after our likeness. So it's this idea that the tongue The speech is a creative tool. It's the same tool in which God created the universe, and He's giving you the same power to speak. And remember, your life is not going to go in a direction that you don't speak it in. You can want it to go here, to the left. This is left on my screen. It's probably right for you, but you can want it to go this direction all you want. But if your tongue is speaking that direction, where do you think you're going to go? And then look at verse 4. This is by far. Then let's talk about verse 4. So verse 4, he's talking about ships and rudders. Every ship, even the ones that we have today that aren't a man standing in the back of the ship holding a helm and moving it to the left and the right. They evolved into the pirate ship wheel you saw at the top of the ship, or someplace where you had a good vantage point and you're turning this wheel, you're still turning the rudder. It's still connected to that rudder. Even today, they have these intricate little just knobs. They'll just have like a knob or a little small wheel that somebody stands there and they're the helmsman, and they turn it certain degrees this way, 85 degrees this way, 25 degrees this way, whatever. Hard port, hard turn, starboard, port, whatever it might be. It's still connected to this rudder. And no matter how big the ship is, the rudder, it could be 30, 20 feet long depending on the size of the ship. It's still small in relationship to these giant ships in comparison to these massive cruise ships and oil tankers and these behemoths that are like 10, 15 times the size of the Titanic, roaming the waters, carrying thousands of people or thousands of tons of equipment in shipping containers. It's that rudder. Without that rudder, the ship's not going to turn. The same sort of thing when we talk about the horse, but it made me start thinking about that, turning a ship. And there's a sailing technique they call tacking, and it's been used for years. Centuries. It's developed. It's kind of different names, but the actual technique of it has been ever since man has been sailing. Sometimes we want to sail in a direction that the winds won't allow us to sail normally. See, before machine ships and nuclear-powered submarines and giant diesel engine ships that roam the seas now, they sailed. And you'd have your sail, you'd have your rudder, you'd have your helm, all of that. But what happens when the wind is not on your side? What happens when environmental conditions are actively stopping you from reaching your goal? Think about that. What happens when environmental conditions are actively stopping you from reaching your goal? This is where men develop this tacking, or they call it beating the wind, or beating windward, or jibbing, depending on which side of the ship you're turning and whether you're using a zigzag or a more looping pattern. But it's the same thing. Through proper use of your sail, and more importantly, through proper use of your rudder, through turning your rudder, using your helm to turn your rudder in the exact right angles at the exact right time, you can even sail directly into the wind. Almost. You can't sail completely straight ahead into the wind, but you can steer that allows you to go upwind, against the wind. So if your goal is, I need to get to this city or this port over here, but the wind is pushing me this way, I would love for it to push me this way so I can get to this port. I'm going to beat or jib or tack. I'm going to use my rudder, trim my sails, and work my rudder away to where I can go into the wind to get to where I need to go. What does all that mean, right? Let's take the book of James's sort of parable, or its imagery, and let's apply it to this situation. Let's say the ship is our life. Everything we want, hopes, dreams, money, health, whatever it is, all of it. It could be one thing, it could be everything. And let's say the place you're trying to get, that's your goal. Maybe you want to make more money, maybe you want to live better life, maybe you want to have better health, maybe you want to have a better relationship with your spouse, your kids, you want to do better on your job. Maybe you want all of that. But there are certain times when your goal is on the right side of the wind. The environmental conditions, the conditions of life, that's what the wind is, right? Environmental and life conditions are pushing you towards your goal, so you don't have to work as hard. It's a little bit easy. You don't even have to really say anything. You don't even have to really use your rudder. Put your sails there, let go. It's going to push you right there. It's an easy trip. But sometimes, where you want to be, where God wants you, is you're downwind of it. You got to go upwind. You have to actually go against the conditions of the environment. You got to try to find a way to make more money in the pandemic. You got to try to find a way to get a better job with limited education or experience. You got to try to find a way to restore your health when doctors are telling you you can't. This is it for you. You have to be able to work your rudder. You got to be able to speak. Use that tongue. Use that power of speech to defy the environmental conditions and still get to where God wants you to be, or where God told you you needed to be. Sometimes that goal is upwind. Sometimes you're going to have to fight against environmental conditions. You got to not only be able to not speak against your goal, like when we talked about you can't outwork a bad tongue, you got to not only stop the counterproductive talk. That's level 1. Stop the counterproductive talk. Start speaking where you want to go. But sometimes you're going to have to look at the environmental conditions that are telling you the exact opposite of where you want to go, and you're going to have to start working your tongue to get you where you need to go. You're going to have to start saying, I don't care what it looks like. I'm getting there. I don't care what it feels like. My body's going to be healed. I don't care what when I log into my banking app, what my account says. Money's coming. I'm going to make it happen. God's going to make it happen for me. God's going to show me the way. You got to start speaking different to the conditions. And you will have to fight, and you will have to work, and it will be harder. That's why they talk about tacking, jibbing, beating. Those maneuvers, that's next level sailing. That's expert sailing. And it's hard work, and it takes constant movement. Watch videos of guys on simple sailboats doing it, and they're constant motion. They're constantly moving, and every move is crucial, and every angle they move is crucial to them beating the conditions and getting to where they want to go. So you're going to have to work harder than you ever did. You're going to have to speak in ways you never spoke. And everything out of your mouth is going to be crucial towards you beating the conditions and getting to where you go. But Paul shows us the key with that. Use your words. Everything else, it doesn't matter. Paul is laying it out to where he says it doesn't matter, man, how much writing you do, how much visualization you do. It doesn't matter if, the craze that's been going on for now, that I see people in both secular and in the church do. It's not many vision board parties you throw, and I'm not sliding that, but I'm telling you, if you got your vision board up, but every day in life, you're speaking the opposite of what you see. You're speaking the opposite of what you want. You can't outwork a bad tongue. So no matter how much time you put in your study, if you're not speaking that truth, if your prayer life isn't about God, show me the way. And when you run into the conditions that are the opposite of where you want to go, when the wind is pushing against you, when environmental factors are telling you your goal can't be reached, but you know you can reach it, speak to that. Use those words. Use that power. Use that rudder to guide you against the conditions so that you can still get to the port of your dreams. And you can show other people then how to do the same thing. Amen.